Hello humans, Master Dinnerflexer bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today, after quite a bit of time, I decided I'm going to discuss these two cards coming out whenever they're coming out. I have no idea. So basically, a while ago, we got two new spells that are strange, to say the least. They both have good effects, but not really that good when you stop and think about them. And it's called Shadow's Light and Duality. Both of these have really strong effects attached to them. For Shadow's Light, which is the one we're going to be discussing today, we can target one dark monster you control, special summon one light monster with the same original type and level from your deck or extra deck. And then also, while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it during your main phase to get an additional light or dark normal summon. Can't conduct your battle phase during the turn you use either of its effects. That's still ridiculously good. And regardless of that, this is where the problems are going to show up after Duality, which you contribute one light or dark monster, special summon one light or dark monster, the same original type and level, but a different original attribute from your hand or extra deck. And then during the main phase, you can banish it to target a light and dark, put it back in the deck, and draw one card. So these cards, they have really, really good effects. There's just one problem. First off, you will never, ever go out of your way to summon something from deck or from hand with these cards. There is no point in doing that, because if you're using these cards to do that, it means you either have a deck that can already do that, or you're just playing a deck that will not work without these unsearchable cards. So that's already a problem right there. But in addition to that, you have to actually analyze what extra deck targets actually exist for these types. And when you start to look at it, you'll realize how insanely limited these cards are in applications. And then you'll notice, yeah, we got some problems here. Basically, you can see these Darklords in our hand. One of the only type attribute combinations that has a consistently good basis for these cards is just Dark Fairy. And that, in and of itself, is an insanely limited type attribute combination. Fairies are angels and like light spirits thematically, so to have dark ones are very rare, and the only ones you'll ever see are like Darklord and Despia, and they're the only ones that function, even though Darklord, I say with air quotes, function, because this archetype does not have a monster that searches a spell and trap, and because of that, it rarely gets to play its own duel. But regardless of that, you know that, but you clicked on the thumbnail saying Darklords, so you don't care, you just want to see some cool shit, and that's what I'm here to do. So, let's get into it. For this combo, we are not using this one, we are actually using Shadow's Light, and we are using Darklords for this combo. So what you need is, by the end of your setup, whatever draw spells you activate and whatnot, you need a Superbia, an Yugioh in the grave, access to Banishment, and access to Shadow's Light. So we will go ahead and toss, and we'll now have 3 random cards in our hand. We will activate Banishment, which will allow us to get Contact. In Contact, we will go ahead and activate to revive Superbia, which will then revive Yugioh. Next, we're going to use Yugioh's effect to copy Banishment. We will pay 1,000 life points to do that, and we will go ahead and resolve the effect of Banishment, which will search us Indulged. And for Indulged, we will go ahead and normal summon, and her effect is you take 2 Darklord monsters from your hand or deck. Yeah, it's a little weird to say that. One of them you're at your hand, and then the other you special summon to your opponent's field. And for this demonstration, we will summon Capricious to our opponent's field, so this will be on our opponent's board, and this will be in our hand. Now, we are not done. We are now going to activate Shadow's Light, and this is where the combo can have variations. I will show the simple one, then the more complex one. We will target Indulged Darklord, and the reason I say some of the best targets for this type combo is because Dark Fairies have a lot of level 4s that allow you to access Herald of the Darklight easy, but even among level 8s and whatnot, there's a lot of really good targets. And that's where the problem lies with pretty much every other type attribute combination of these cards, is that even dragons have some limited, like, light dragons are nowhere near as powerful as dark dragons, and that's a problem both ways. But even though dark fairies are far weaker than light fairies, the dark fairies you have access to are like really powerful engine cards like Indulged or Aluber, so it kind of balances out a lot better because they're good at recruiting a lot of the same resources. Which is why I do think the best combination for this is like light and dark fairies. But now we have their Herald of the Arclight. But we are not done. We are going to link these two into Condemned Darklord, and we can go ahead and toss a random card in our hand, and we can search any Darklord we want to. We can search Follow-Up. We could also search Teslacopia, which allows... I don't know if I pronounced that right, honestly. Which allows us to protect a board if it gets blown up or whatever. I think I'll search Yugioh for another turn. But now, we can banish the Shadow's Light from our graveyard, and it gives us an additional normal summoner set for a light or dark monster, which we will use for Morningstar's Tribute Summon. But in addition to that, Condemned Darklord has the effect that if you were to tribute a fairy monster that needs 2 or more tributes, you can just banish the tributes from your graveyard instead. So, we just normal summon that Morningstar, and on summon, we can special summon Darklord monsters with different names from our deck up to the number of monsters our opponent controls, which is the Capricious. So now, we get to summon Ukobak from the deck, and on summon, this card allows us to dump any Darklord card from our deck to the graveyard. But while Arclight is up, we don't want to dump a monster, so instead, we will dump the Fusion Trap, which is not that. I guess I forgot to put it in the deck list, but just pretend this is a Fusion Trap. So, this is our setup. During the end phase, which we can go ahead and use Morningstar here too, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can mill 5 cards and gain 500 from each Darklord sent to the grave by this effect. However, again, remember Arclight is just going to banish any monsters among them, which is sus. But regardless, even if you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and use this for the 6 fairies on board and gain 3,000 life. And then on our opponent's turn, they're going to want to deal with the Arclight. It's going to be one of their easiest things. But since we have the Fusion Trap, and since we have Yugioh face up, we can go ahead and return all of that. Let's say our opponent, they can't summon a Fafnir because we gave them a monster, which is actually hilarious. But regardless, we can go ahead and put back the Fusion Trap and send this, and the Darklord we searched to summon the first Darklord, which now every single monster on our board is now immune to targeting. And in addition to that, on summon, it just pops all cards our opponent controls because we use Morningstar as material. That's a pretty decent setup. It's basically the full Darklord play with addition to Arclight backing you up, and because our opponent controls a Capricious, if they're playing Kashira, they're kind of in an awkward spot, or if you just drew Rivalry, you can actually just fully prevent your opponent from playing for a bit, so that is really nice. But now that we got this combo out of the way, let's go into another. Now for this next one, you might notice the setup looks a little familiar, and that is not by accident. The only change is that instead of 3 random cards, we have 2, and that's because one of the cards you're going to need is something a little more specific. But in the last combo where we summoned Arclight, this time we are going to do something else. We are going to activate Shadow's Light, and instead of targeting Indulged, we're going to target Superbia. And with Superbia, we can go ahead and summon a card that you never thought would ever have an application in anything ever. Not even its own series of support cards use this card. So the fact that we're going to use it here is absurd. Now, we are then going to activate Trickstar Light Stage as a random card, and with that we will search a Trickstar. Now, under normal circumstance, you might be wondering why would you do this. In Darklords specifically, there's a lot of value in making Condemned Darklord without ever using Eggshell or Superbia by just using a bunch of random fairies. So I actually do play this card in actual Darklords when I play it, just because it's like free card advantage. And in addition, it's shutting off back row is pretty nice. But regardless, for this application, it allows us to generate a light monster in our hand. Now, we are going to link these two away into the Condemned Darklord. And with Condemned, we will toss one of those random cards in our hand. And with that, we can go ahead and dump Yugioh already. And this is where Chaos Goddess comes in. We can go ahead and toss Korobane to target the Superbia. Superbia will summon itself, and in addition, Yugioh will be summoned by Superbia, which allows us to dump the Fusion Trap again. And then we can go ahead and overlay these two level 8s into any rank 8 you wish, which is actually really, really cool. So basically, it's a one-in-a-lifetime chance to put Chaos Goddess in a deck and it actually do anything. But we are not done. We still have a way to use this, which, because Condemned Darklord is face up, we can go ahead and summon Morningstar, which will summon another Darklord out of the deck. And this time, we can go ahead and summon Nastin. And with this, I believe we can go ahead and make Apollosa here if we wanted to. But I think for this application, we can go ahead and turn those two to Parshath, discard our final card, and search Fallen Sanctuary. We will still have a way to fusion summon our opponent's turn. We have access to a rank 8, and we have Fallen Sanctuary, which in and of itself is a recurring monster negate. So now, we have access to fusion summoning, we have access to consistent monster negates, and a rank 8. So this is actually a lot for very little, truthfully. And this is all around pretty cool, because we have two copiers. The first one can be dedicated to revive back Yugioh, to dump another card for the following turn, and then the other one can go ahead and fusion summon. A lot of really cool things you can do with that card in this deck, but now, this isn't the only Dark Fairy deck I want to talk about. Now it's time to get into the other. Now for this final combo, I thought, rather than just show Duality and Shadow's Light at the same time, at once, we're going to show them off both at the same time. So, this is going to be a huge high-end hand, but you need Aluber, which isn't that crazy, Cartesia, which is a little less common, and then both, which is going to be once in a very long while. But let's go ahead and start it off. We will normal summon Aluber, and with this, we will search Branded Fusion. Yay! Now, we will go ahead and activate Branded Fusion, and we're going to summon Lubellion by dumping Albaz, but in addition, we're actually going to dump Dramaturge. So Chainlink 1 will be Lubellion, Chainlink 2 will be Dramaturge. To summon itself, we will discard that last random card out of our hand and return these two for Mirror Jade, which will be right here. Now, this is where Shadow's Light comes in. We are going to target Dramaturge, which allows us to summon any level 8 Light Fairy, and we will use Construct. Construct on special summon, we can go ahead and dump any Shaddoll card. But now, because we have the Shadow's Light in our graveyard, we can go ahead and banish it to get an additional normal summon, which of course we will use on Cartesia. Cartesia we will go ahead and activate, and we will fuse away this and Construct into the Dusk Dragon. Chainlink 1 will be Construct, Chainlink 2 will be Dusk Dragon. Dusk Dragon will go ahead and we will dump the Glory Dragon, and Construct will go ahead and recycle Schism. Next, we will finally set these two, and in the end phase, Cartesia will return to our hand because we got fusions dumped to the grave, and of course, the Glory Dragon will go ahead and search Mercurier. And then on our opponent's draw phase, we will go ahead and activate Duality to turn Aluber into Arclight. So, let's do a head count, shall we? Dramaturge is a disruption against extra deck monsters, so this is disruption number 1. Arclight is an Omnigate that is also a Floodgate, so that is 2. Mirror Jade can dump anything from the extra deck to banish, that is 3. Dust Dragon can go ahead and banish itself when our opponent tries to commit a play to either this to protect the Arclight, or this, which is also its own disruption, or even the new Despia coming out later, which is also disruption. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have access to Mercurier after the Arclight goes to disrupt a monster. 5. And then we got Schism, which can go ahead and banish the construct and any dark in our graveyard to summon Winda, which is a Floodgate and can also send away any dark monster, which is 6. And let's not forget, whatever Mirror Jade dumps is going to get us a new card on the following turn. Yay! This is pretty nice. Not gonna lie, this is it is a high-end hand for a reason. And yeah, it goes to show it. And this is also more evidence to the point I wanted to, show that fairies are, the ultimate and arguably only application for these cards. And, there is some room for dragons and maybe warrior. The problem is, one attribute is usually much better than the other, and whereas fairies, dark fairies are not as good as comparison to light, but the ones that are good are exceptional at either recurring vantage or just straight up good, like Despia. Light dragons, when they're good, it's usually because they're a drastically different level. Like, level 8 light dragons are good, and level 4 dark dragons are good, but the, combination between them is not. Whereas fairies do have that level. But yep, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Genderflex will take your soul.